Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Hello and welcome to another episode of the AFTN Soccer Show, coming from you live from the University of British Columbia on the unceded Musqueam territory. If you're listening to this show on the podcast, this is episode 196. I'm Michael McCall,
I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhower.
and we are joined by a new special guest this evening.
Gideon Hill, TSS Rovers match commentator.
So you might recognise Gideon's voice if you've been listening to the TSS broadcasts for the last 2 Fridays. Welcome to the show. Got a lot to bring you tonight. This show is presented in conjunction with BC Soccer Web, your one-stop site for all your BC, national and international soccer news and links. Check out bcsoccerweb.com. We're going to be working a lot with them this year, and there's a lot of great stuff on that site. So, I don't know about you guys, but I am cock-a-hoop. I don't know if you can guess why.
It's been a while.
Twin Peaks. 25 years I've been waiting for this to come back. Back tonight, 2 episodes, fantastic episodes. So we're going to bring you a 2-hour show just basically talking about how good Twin Peaks was. Might sprinkle a little bit of Whitecap stuff in the middle of it. We'll talk about the Log Lady. Zach's...
Anything's better than wrestling.
I was going to say, it's like, you didn't want me to talk about wrestling, so now I'm going to talk about Twin Peaks. And we will talk about the Whitecaps as well. It has been a great weekend for the Whitecaps. I called a win. Zach, you called a win.
For real.
The Whitecaps won. And deposed the current Western Conference leaders. Moved to within 6 points of the top spot in the West with 2 games in hand. Kind of incredible when you think how the first month of the season started on all the injuries that they've had. And you know that the team's not even firing on all cylinders just now. But Zach, how did you find, I guess, the performance first of all?
Yeah, I think it was a good performance watching the match back on the PVR. The first half was a bit of a cagey affair, not really spectacular, but I thought on the whole the performance was really good. In the second half, we saw some great determination. We saw a second goal, and we saw a good performance from a good home win, good home performance from the Caps.
And Gideon, what was your take just on the overall performance of the match? We'll analyse it in a few minutes in more detail.
Yeah, you know, it's tough to come home after a long road trip, especially for some of those guys being away from their younger guys, being away from their families, and it's, you know, like Zach mentioned, a few tough early minutes going on. Then cagey affair, as he said, tough first half, and Kansas City is a very well built team. Obviously, they were missing a Dwyer, and Failhaber was on the bench for that game, but they did very well when those guys came on, and when Failhaber came on, and they did very well of assessing the threat out wide with the 2 wingers on Kansas City. So they did a good job, especially in the second half, shutting that attack down and keeping that clean sheet, which Carl Robinson obviously will smile about.
And it was the second clean sheet in 3 games, and it was their 3rd clean sheet of the season. The defence in particular this year has really kind of turned things around, and it's been good to see. It had to. I mean, last year that was really where the team fell down. They were scoring goals. It might have felt that they weren't, but tightening that defence up, getting your star guys like Usted and Waston and Laba back to their 2015 form is what everyone was hoping for. And we seem to have been seeing that so far.
Yeah, it's interesting people thought that they might make some additions in defense, but they played it within. Even when Edgar got injured, they did well to remain with the center backs in the squad and keep faith in Parker. And he's really rewarded as manager Robinson. He's been one of the better, if not the best player on the Whitecaps this year. Hard to argue, but he's been really well, and especially with David Edgar out, I think he's stepped up to the plate very well for this Whitecaps team.
I think one of the keys to performance, Michael, also was a fifth match in a row with the same starting 11 and very similar tactics. I think we've talked about that in previous shows, but I don't think you can understate that enough, or I don't think you can overstate that enough.
I did feel that he might change things up.
So did I, yeah.
Being at home, I know Davies, there's one eye on Tuesday, and Alphonso Davies is going to start on Tuesday, and we're going to talk about the Montreal game in the third part of the show. But I thought he would maybe want to be a little bit more attacking. And the first half, we've got to say, was not the most exciting half.
No.
If the teams had gone in scoreless, it would have been no surprise at all. And I think both teams didn't really do much to do anything really in the first half. The only time that KC kind of threatened, there was the break. Fernandez coming off a hat trick midweek. He was dangerous. He was putting himself about. He had the chance. He broke forward. Usted came out really quick, put him off, didn't allow him to get a shot off. Then he played the ball through to Blessing, and it was a blessing for the Whitecaps that the flag went up. But also another man that likes blessings, Kendall Waston, put in an amazing last-ditch tackle, knocking the ball away. Doesn't count ultimately because it was offside, but what a tackle that was from Kendall. Yeah,
it's always the thing you talk about in sports, especially soccer, is play to the whistle, you could say. And Kendall did a really good job, even though the play was offside, to eliminate the threat of Blessing, who was one of the pacier players in that Kansas City team, one of the more threatening guys. And he did well. He learned his tactics with Robinson very well and how to assess the threat of the wingers in Blessing and Jersa, who did very well to attack Harvey and Williams, the outside backs, in Saturday's game.
And the other thing in the first half, both teams, it was very cagey. But then the goal that came, for me, I mean, right away, it's early in the season, but you know it's going to be up there for goal of the season contenders. It's going to take a special couple of goals to knock that off top spot. And it was a great team goal. From Shannon Williams on the right, the ball that he played in, Bolaños' little chest down, and the first time volley and finish from Teixeira. Overall, watching it back, it just looks beautiful.
Well, you go back even further in the play, and you see them, I believe the play was going on the left first, and it came back because there was no opening, switching the play, kind of switched the play all the way to back, and I believe it was Kendall who put a long ball over the top for Williams. Now, the Williams cross, I've seen different takes on it.
Yeah, you're not sure that it was as perfectly placed as I'm saying it was.
No. Well, when you go back and watch it, even just like it was a hopeful cross at best. Like, it was, even the way he hit it, it looked like he got more of, like, he didn't get around the ball. He more got it like on his laces almost. Like, he almost drove it across. And obviously it worked out well. Christian Bola read the play extremely well. There's this moment of brilliance with his chest down and the Bugs finish, obviously extremely high quality. But that, I would question whether or not that's exactly what Sheenan was thinking when he put that ball across.
Yeah, it's tough to say. Watching that goal back, it's just seeing it live was incredible. But it looked initially, as did the cross from Shannon, did take a deflection, but that was just a moment of quality. And like you mentioned, the Whitecaps over the top threat hasn't been as I guess you could say. Well, it hasn't been good, you could say. And the ball from Kendall was exceptional. His delivery over the top isn't always great, but that time it was perfect. And Williams did that so well. He had the positioning, fired it in, and especially for Bolaños, some players would take that. I mentioned to you before, some players would take that first time or even take a touch, and Bolaños perfectly visioned chest down, and what a strike from Christian. It's such a hard thing to do.
And that wasn't the first time in the half that they were looking for that ball over the top. It happened a couple times. So it was something looked very intentional, because we've seen a lot of more possession football from our side, a lot less direct balls, but there was a couple times they were looking for it, and I think it was something they felt they could get behind the Kansas City fullbacks, because there was almost an identical ball earlier that I think it was Kendall again, and Beasler, I think, chested it out for a corner as he was trying to defend it earlier on in the half. And so no one wants to see us go back to being super direct, especially at home.
I don't know.
Sorry,
I honestly
everyone-
have no problem with the long ball game. I really, really don't. I think it's effective.
But
I don't think anyone who's not from the British Isles wants to see long balls or super direct play. No, it feels like a lower probability kind of way to play, Michael. No?
Yeah, you need the right people up there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Bolaños says little chest down. That, for a long ball kind of team, you want a big target man to be knocking those balls down. But if Bola can reach with his chest, he tried to get a header earlier in the half and couldn't get onto that. So
that was one of the half chances of the first half.
Yeah.
But no, so it looked like they were looking for that, and it's nice to see. It looked very intentional because I think both of them were from Kendall, if memory serves me correct, and it looks like something that they had noticed and they were looking for. So I know we didn't win the possession battle in the game, which no one cares because we won the match, but it felt like they had moments where they were trying to vary the attack, and I think that's a hugely positive sign.
Yeah, we talk about the balls over the top from the boys at the back for the Whitecaps, and it usually works if you have the right players for the system for that. And normally when you take a look out wide with Bolaños and Teixeira, they're not the tallest guys, but they both have the quality to settle the ball down. Even Alphonso Davies, if you throw in there late, like he played very well. You don't normally have the players to control the ball from over the top, but they did extremely well to position themselves against the outside backs, like you mentioned, Zach, of Kansas City, to position themselves well to get the ball and only as well put in a quality cross, which happened in numerous occasions and almost caused a goal.
So 1-0 at the half, and for me, as soon as the Caps had went ahead with the kind of lineup that KC had put out and the exertions from their midweek game against Seattle, which they were outstanding in the second half, they made 4 changes, and you wondered would they try and freshen things up at halftime, and they did. They took off the Canadian guy, Tyler Pasher. Didn't have a great MLS debut,
No.
to say the least. Very ineffective. He didn't really get the ball, but I mean, you have to try and make your chances. But good for us.
The first time he did, I think he ran it into touch, basically. If memory serves.
Twice I saw he did that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
nerves there in front of the south side as well. So that'd be tough. But
Yeah, and then they made the sub. You wondered who was then going to have the momentum. Would the Caps sit back a little bit with the 1-0 lead, kind of rely more on just kind of playing the counter-attack? But then one of the controversial incidents of the game, let's put it that way, ball comes across, slight coming together in the box. Freddie Montero didn't even fall over like good South Americans do when they feel a push in the box. And bizarrely, Toledo points to the spot, and I'm in the press box saying, that is never a penalty.
So if that was a penalty, it makes Kendall's tackle last week in Houston look like a stone cold penalty.
Which we were saying
which
last week.
Which was never a penalty, ever.
Yeah, but I was saying last week that the way the referee would have seen Kendall's one, he'd have seen the hands kind of touch the guy. So depending on your actual view of it, it looks like, he pushed him over. I don't know what view Toledo had. And then he went over and confirmed with the linesman, and you saw the linesman nodding.
The linesman, the fact that he just went to line up for the penalty and wasn't going to move from that spot, you knew for him it was, in his eyes, he saw the hand motion, he thought for sure it's a penalty. But when you watch it again, it's very clear it's a very weak call again.
It's something that happens every single game. There's a coming together of players. There was no intent. No. If that had been called against us, I'd be livid. I'd be ranting about how terrible the refs are. And I'm still going to say how terrible the refs are because that is the kind of decision that spoils games. It can get managers sacked. Obviously not in a game like that. But I mean, a manager, say like an Alpha at LA, that's the kind of bad decisions that can cost his team a game, cost him a job. I think we're pretty much all in agreement that it wasn't a penalty.
Yeah, for me personally, it depends on the day for penalties now in MLS with the way the referees are. And it's hard to complain because some games, obviously, your team gets a call, some other days it doesn't. And it was just one of those calls to me. That was a fantastic play by Beasler to take out Montero. Obviously, the intent wasn't there to kind of stumble him over. He did a good job to position himself when the cross came in to kind of push Freddie out of the way. But it was a good defense play from Beasler.
So, no, it wasn't Beasler, actually. And that was what made it even more awkward.
It was Sinovic.
Yes,
That's right.
yeah. So Sinovic is the one who gently put his hands into the back of the Colombian. And then
he's back to being the Colombian now that he missed the penalty.
And he totally takes out Beasler, like unintentionally.
Yeah.
Like he goes underneath Beasler, and Beasler lands almost on his head or on his arm awkwardly. And he's like, "How are you giving this as a penalty? I've been fouled." I think that was Beasler's beef to start with.
I mean, it was kind of karma then that we didn't score from the penalty. Terrible penalty, really. And it's the second one he's missed of the year. I was trying to find the audio. I am pretty sure when he missed the first one, and I can't even remember what game that was now.
Portland.
Portland.
When he missed that one, he said, we'll get plenty more penalties, and I'll score them all. Yeah. Now we have the question, should he be the penalty taker going forward? But before we come to that, why do you think he missed it? A, it wasn't taken well. B, the keeper saved it well. C, the heat on the day made his hair dye sort of run into his eyes and he couldn't see the ball. Or D, that new hairstyle has made him look like Eric Hurtado and he just can't hit the ball in the goal.
He was unrecognizable coming onto I didn't know who he was for a second. But
I was saying he's a golden boy, but I don't think so now.
I'm colorblind. What color?
I don't. It's
It
kind of.
looks silver.
It's that kind of
it was
silvery.
It was like the kind of like the messy
Messi,
color. Yeah.
Silver Surfer.
The same thing that both Pedro Morales and Kendall Waston did in the offseason.
Yes.
Yeah, and then quickly changed their minds. Yeah, it was a terrible one. But
I wonder what old people, like the elderly, think about these guys dyeing their hair silver. Gray,
I hate it.
Like,
or do you mean like even older than me?
I mean a little bit older than you. Yeah.
Okay.
Like senior citizens.
I hate it.
You're not a senior citizen.
No, my views are though.
Oh. Oh man.
Right, serious question. He has missed 2 now. Should he be the penalty taker moving forward?
This is I believe he's taken 3 already. I think that I can remember he's scored 1. I think he's taken 3. If I'm not, might have been 2. So
there's 2 missed. That's
the only 2 that stuck in my mind. He might actually have scored 1.
It was a home game. I forget what game it was, but I remember he was 2 for 3. So this is 4 games now that Freddie Montero has not scored a goal in, which A is a bit concerning for me, but B, given the circumstances, a striker that's kind of your leading guy that's played, frankly, at the start of the season didn't play many minutes. He was trying to get fit, but he's come back and he's played well, but going on the road in tough environments like Houston with the Heat, Montreal,
and no service as well in
exactly.
this 4-1-4-1.
So it's a guy for him coming from a different league. He's just he's been good, but for 4 games without a goal, there's not a lot of questions asked there. But you got to think like if he's missed 2 penalties in a row, he scored 1 obviously in Portland off the rebound, but. Again, maybe he could add a goal after he missed a penalty there, like a good rebound for him. But
yeah, and he was frustrated because you saw like when the rebound came out, Bola went in first, tried to get it, then Freddie went in. The ball did come loose, and I was waiting for the ref to say foul on the keeper, but he didn't. So it was a live ball, and they should have capitalised on that. But after the danger was cleared, Montero, you saw his frustration. You might not. I don't know if this came across on the TV or not, but he's lying on the turf and he's banging the turf. And so was Bola, but I think that's because he had a knock, which was a bit worrying as well. But yeah, for me, moving forward, I think for the next couple of penalties at least, he should come off it. Someone like Christian Teixeira, I would like to see take it. I believe, Zach, you were calling for Kendall Waston to take it.
Well, no, because I was partially jokingly and partially just because I love Kendall. But no, because Kendall was there when they were... As the Kansas City players were arguing with Toledo about it, Kendall was in the mix to make sure to oversee that conversation from the Whitecaps' perspective. And so to the people around me, I jokingly shouted out like, "Oh, let Kendall take it." And then the miss happened, and I said, "I told you Kendall should take it."
Yeah, you were correct.
Yeah,
so.
But no,
he couldn't have been worse. I don't think. Well, he could have booted it in.
Yeah, no, I watched it again, and It felt like I think Malia Tim made a good save.
So we should give him credit.
I think he deserves credit. I think it was not the slowest penalty in the world. Like it wasn't a slow roller. It wasn't like
No, I mean it's not the worst penalty you're going to see.
No,
but
I felt like his body language kind of telegraphed where it was going. That was, I think, the worst part of it for me. In terms of should someone else be taking them from now on? I think with any striker, with anyone, even when Pedro was taking them back in the day, you have to be, I think, really careful with how you deal with that, because you also don't want to hurt the player's morale. So you don't want to say, oh, yeah, you've missed two. Sure, you put one in on the rebound, but now it's going to be the bug, or now it's going to be Bola, or whatever. I think you need to be really careful with that from a psyche perspective.
Yeah, sorry, one thing here. I would say mainly one thing that I would know for some soccer players is true, but mindset before penalty is tough to find your spot, and especially when you're trying to deal with the referee and other players. But, going back to Zach, when you mentioned about dealing with players and not letting them do penalties anymore, I'll take you back to Columbus last year, or is it 2 years ago when Kai Kamara got traded for the Frederic. That is one thing that I do not want to happen, given Freddie's in his first year. But that's something that the Whitecaps need to deal with correctly. And he's your target guy. Why you wouldn't want to take him away and say, hey, like you're not. That doesn't give him confidence at all. So they got to deal with that the right way, and it's something that will be interesting to watch here.
I don't think that would be the most fruitful. I think that has the potential to not be a fruitful change. I would be anxious about that.
Okay.
Even though I would be happy I'm happy for the ball to go in the net. That's obviously what I want.
For a non-Colombian. Right after that, it looked like, oh no, it's really going to be a really costly mess, because Casey went off the pitch and then ousted. He didn't have much to do in the game, and then that's what you want from a goalkeeper. He's quiet throughout the game, and then when he's called upon to make a massive save, he does it, and Ousted did that little reach to kind of grab the ball, and you're like, phew.
I talked to him after the game, and I don't get to see most of the game, right? And this game, less than usual, I turned around to watch what was going on. So I was talking to him a little bit after the game. I said, Dave, I didn't get to see much of anything today. Did you have to make any big saves? He was like, no. Oh. He was like, not really. And I don't even know if he was being humble or what, but he's like, and I was like, someone told me you got kicked. Did you get kicked? He's like, oh yeah, the guy came into me. It's Kansas City, same old, whatever.
Yeah.
But no,
yeah, which we will come to shortly.
Yes, we will. But no, watching it again, then I watched the game, and that was definitely a key moment, like a potential turning point.
Yeah, definitely a game changer, because if KC got back into that, then you're wondering exactly what's going to happen. The Whitecaps mixed things up a little bit. Kind of alluded to the tackle on Davies. We're going to come to that after we hear from both coaches. But
so we can't talk about that before we talk about the goal?
No.
Okay.
I was going to go in chronological order, but I actually have some audio from Roger Espindoza about it. So we'll play that in a bit. So let's get to the winning goal. Well,
who's Roger Espindoza? Who's that?
I don't know.
Do you mean Roger Espinoza?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Okay. It's just like
it's like Steve's here and he's not here.
Yeah. May he rest in San Diego.
Is that where he is?
Yeah, he's in San Diego just now.
Really?
Yeah, he was telling me he was doing a zip line. It was a mile long, and he was the last person on the zip line, but with his weight, he was the first person to finish. He probably is going to hate me telling that story, but that is what he told me. I just thought I'd
family
share
vacation?
That. Yeah, family vacation.
Oh, sweet.
He's doing some scouting as well, where we're trying to sign some San Diego writers for the new MLS team, AFTN San Diego.
Ooh, got to catch your name to it.
Yeah, stay classy, San Diego.
Stay classy.
So, the goal, Tim Parker. We're going to have a chat with Tim later in the show as well, where he's talking about that goal and just how he's played this season. So we won't go into too much detail about Parker, but let's talk about the goal.
Yep.
Crucial one. There was a foul on Davies, and we'll come to that. And then the set pieces this year have definitely been better. If you listen to episode 195 of the podcast, our KC preview show, we played audio from Peter Vermes and a couple of the players, and they were worried about the danger of the Whitecaps set pieces. And considering how dreadful they've been for seasons now, that's kind of nice to hear. And a big thing behind that is Christian Bolaños. And Great delivery from that free kick, right onto the head. Well, kind of went over Kendall's head, but then right onto the head of Tim Parker. May have got a bit of a deflection to go in, but he met it powerfully enough to take it in, and it was great to see him score, and it was a great goal.
Yeah, it's a relief. That's his first goal in MLS. He's gotten one in the Champions League and one in the Canadian Championship as well. So nice for him to finally get the lucky MLS goal.
Getting here, it's called the Voyageurs Cup.
Sorry, the Voyageurs Cup.
Just as Zach, I do call it the Canadian Championship, and it's the Canadian Championship for the Voyageurs Cup.
As long as you say it that way, I'm okay.
Yeah, that's how I will say it, because it is.
So, like last year, I remember, if I can recall, that Morales wasn't taking the set pieces. It was Bolaños for most of the year for corners. So earlier in the game, you talk about Bolaños already had an assist, and that was last week too when Breck Shea got that header. It was a similar play as well, albeit this time coming in from the left, but fantastic header from Tim Parker, who did well. He's a gritty guy that gets on the end of that. A really good header and a tough one for center back as well, not facing the goal, but a great header and an even better service from Bolaños, who's been exceptional on those set pieces, home or away, this season as well.
I think the way he put the ball in, where he put the ball in and the way he put it in, it was like just like a whipped, fast, powerful cross, and it was right into that sweet spot where almost like between the defenders and the keeper, because I think Tim Mealy was coming for it.
Yeah, he couldn't come, then he was getting blocked,
Yeah.
and then he's off his line, so he left a gap, and it was a nice finish. So pleased for Tim, and we'll hear from Tim later in the show. Caps then had a few late chances, could easily have won 4 or 5-0. Shot that came off the post, or header that came off the post, and then there was a chance for Kendall, and then there's a few other chances as well. Real spark when Alphonso Davies came on, and I thought that was good to see because he had looked a bit tired, he had looked a little bit ineffective just before he this kind of change of formation. So I think that was good, and it did make you wonder, because obviously that then changed it from the 4-1-4-1
to 4-2-3-1.
Yeah, should that be how they go at home?
Well, we're going to talk about this later, but it doesn't matter.
Let's talk about it now.
Things are going to change because there's a cup game midweek, and there's no chance of there being the same lineup for the DC game.
No, because Mati Laba got suspended, and after the game, Robbo was like, so disappointed in him, blah blah blah, and it's like, yeah, no, you're not. He's going to miss the DC game, and he's then going to be available for the Atlanta and the Dallas games unless he gets sent off in one of them.
No, but as a coach, you got to be disappointed because that happens like at the center circle. There's no reason to take a yellow card.
Exactly,
there.
Which is why he deliberately took the yellow card for me. He wanted a booking, not to. So he got his suspension, and it was done.
I don't think so. Just because the way that the game was going, then I think like everybody knew that no matter how like hard the challenge was, they might have gotten something like a yellow card. But I don't think that was like Lava tackles hard either way, and for the game, the way the game was going, that was no. Yeah.
I now that you say it that way, Michael, I wouldn't put it past.
Do you think he was pulling a David Beckham?
Yeah, I was going to say, think of Beckham, 93rd minute.
That was foolish.
Yeah.
Didn't he get suspended for that, or didn't he get a fine?
Yeah. See, Matty's has us debating whether it happened or not. So
because if according to your theory of it,
conspiracy theory,
he made it look so
or fake news, as Nathan Vanstone said a lot of our show is.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, he did. Terrible. That one's for you, Nathan.
There's something I could say there, but I won't. Bite my tongue. No, because it looked like a yellow card that he might take.
Yeah.
Except for it made no sense in the context of the game.
But now it does.
Now it might.
We'll talk about a little bit more from the game, but for now we're going to play some audio from both head coaches. Not a lot. A little bit from Kyle Robinson, just talking about some of the things in the game. And then we're going to hear from Sporting Kansas City head coach Peter Vermes, who didn't have too much to say about the game, wasn't overly happy. So here are the two head coaches, the Whitecaps, Kyle Robinson, and SKC's Peter Vermes.
Carl, just your impressions of this one after a long time away for the team.
It's nice to be back home. I think it took us a little bit of time to get into the game. I think we weren't at our levels in the first half, but we went in 1-0 at half-time. Wonderful goal, super technique, super cross, super touch. But I think we needed to lift it because they're a good team. The standings don't lie, and I challenged them at half-time. I said we need to up it, otherwise we will get into a right game. We knew it would be a difficult game, and it proved to be that. But key moments in games turn games, and they weren't for us today.
You talk about last year and only getting 6 wins at home. You're halfway there already. Is this sort of what you envision when you blueprint the season? How you hoping to?
We need to be better all around, and I said that to him on a daily basis. You need to work hard. That's a prerequisite, and I demand that. I'll give you a bad game, a bad touch, things like that, but you work hard. If you don't work hard, then you won't play. That's pretty simple. If you do, these boys have got quality in that locker room, and they've shown today. It wasn't the prettiest, but second half I thought we played some wonderful football. Disappointed we missed chances, because we did have a number of chances, but with good teams they always have their chance as well, and their chance come right after our missed penalty. So it was another big save by David.
With the 4 road games, you went for consistency, you went with the unchanged lineup. There's a lot of folk thought you may change it with being at home and playing a bit different. How much thought did you give in to maybe trying to mix it up a little bit, or are you happy with this 4-1-4-1?
I gave it lots of thought, I do, and it's already in my mind what I'm going to do Tuesday and Saturday now, because there will have to be changes. So sometimes you get it right when you win or get a result or a performance, and sometimes you don't. So lots of thought has gone into it. I just felt it was right. But if you would have seen me at half-time, maybe you would have seen 3 changes then.
Tim Parker got his first MLS goal. He's been a rock in the defence this year. Can you maybe just talk a little bit about what he's meant to the team this season?
Yeah, he's been strong. He's been very, very professional. We talk about it all the time with our young players. You have to be that. You have to have a discipline off the field. He's got that, but his performances on have been very mature. I think he's been strong. I think first half there was areas that he needs to tidy up, and I told him, but he responded in the right way. When you have a dig at players or a pop at players or tell them some things that they don't like, they go one or two ways, and Timmy certainly goes the right way. So another strong performance by him and Kendall, a clean sheet for these guys, the defenders and the goalkeeper. So, but he needs to continue to do it, because he's got aspirations as well.
An interesting game in the sense that it got livelier in the second half. You were frustrated at times with some of the calls in the officiating. Can you give a summarization of your frustrations at some of the things that you saw tonight?
It's honestly, it's not worth it. It's not worth commenting about the decisions. They're over with. Vancouver, look, they scored 2 goals. The first one I think it probably mentally broke us, just because 3 games in 8 days, and we're pretty tired. We tried to make some changes to give us some legs. The guys who came in did well. It was hard to do wholesale changes across the board. So at the end, they deserved 3 points. We didn't score any goals, so we didn't deserve it.
Scottish band, the shop assistants there with Train from Kansas City. Have to get that in.
So Gideon Michael will play a lot of music that you'll never have heard of before, ever.
Kind of catchy, though. Catchy stuff.
Wait till this episode's Wavelength. It's topical. It's about the Conservative UK sports minister from the late 80s. Everyone's going to love this. Anyway, that was Carl Robinson and Peter Vermes there talking about the game. And we'll just talk a little bit more about it just now, then we'll go to some ads. So we talked about the formation. 5 straight games, same formation. As Zach mentioned, it's not necessarily going to be the same lineup for the DC game on Saturday, but it could still be the same formation. If he wants to keep that same formation, then you have to think that Russell Tybert and Ben McKendry are auditioning for that spot on Tuesday's game against Montreal.
Well, yeah. Obviously, with Matthias Laba getting that suspension for Saturday, I think you mentioned, he might get a look at that game. But, for as much as a meaningful game as this is for the Warriors Cup, they need a big result at home, because going away to Montreal is a very tough place to play. And Montreal won't bring, I think we talked about bringing a full squad. I don't think they will, just because of the fact that they've got, a few guys that can do some damage at home in Zamiley, and obviously the guy named Ignacio Piatti. I don't know if you've heard of Ignacio Piatti.
Piatti is not coming, I have been told. Oh. I was going to reveal that in part 3, but we'll reveal that now.
So no Piatti?
No Piatti.
Zamali, have you heard yet? Or?
That I don't know, but I was just told by a well-placed source that he's probably listening to this and going, hey!
The roster things must come out tomorrow, right?
Yes.
I'm dying
We're going
to
to talk
that.
about that in part 3, so let's not get ahead. So I want to read a tweet which we got from AFTN writer and TSS Rover stats guy Joe Deasy, who says, do you think the 4-1-4-1 will lead to playoff success? He can see advantages of it in the often cagey playoff matches.
Yeah, for some people I heard talking at the game on Saturday is that when you see a 4-1-4-1 with 3 out-and-out midfielders in Chani, Jacobson, and Lava, that the entertainment value is not there, which I wholeheartedly disagree with because of the fact that all 3 guys can play defensive and offensively very well. As you saw, Laba got a couple goals a few weeks ago. So those guys can play defensive as well as offensive, and they've done a very good job of that. And Jacobson, obviously with that goal in Montreal, just an exceptional strike. And those guys have got it done this year, and it's just crazy to think that, initially you look at a 4-1-4 and, they're going to sit back. But no, they did very well to attack, and Chani was everywhere for the minutes he played, albeit short. But yeah, I like that sub by Robinson for Chani and Davies. That was a good idea at that point in the match.
I had a good conversation with AJ when he was coming into the stadium where we were setting up. He said, "Oh, how are you doing?" And I said, "I'm not doing as good as your form is right now." And he had a good laugh. But
did you ask him about the UBC track guy?
No.
Okay.
No. No. I like. I guess kind of answered the question. It feels like they've found something that can either be the primary thing or our alternate thing in terms of formation and tactical approach.
Yeah.
And so in talking to AJ, it was like I asked him kind of some of the stuff we've been kind of guessing at or kind of imposing our own thoughts on what they're doing and why
fake news.
Yeah, exactly. And about having 3 guys who are defending has been more of their focal point of their task on the pitch, but now giving them telling them to have. I think this was Steve's perspective a while ago. Having them have a attacking or going forward mentality first, because it's easier for them to naturally fall into defending as opposed to say go out and defend and then you got to attack, and that's the secondary thing. So I think for AJ especially, who's been given more freedom and more license to go forward, I think it's been like life-giving, and it's just been awesome. I think
he's definitely looked like a guy that has so much freedom now, and we're seeing the best of him, and it's good. And Chani, I think, now knows he has to raise his game as well.
And I think he had a really good game.
He did.
I heard some people saying it was
not
probably
super flashy, but those guys aren't going to do that.
No, but I heard a number of people say that they felt it was his strongest overall game since he's been here.
That's a fair point. And then the 2 subs as well. Ed Wells from the Province referred to how it's now a standard starting 11 and standard substitutions, and it's in the matrix now. Very bizarre. But anyway.
But he's not a football writer.
No.
Yeah.
But anyway, Shea coming on and Davies coming on have been the 2 standard subs in the last couple of games as well.
And then Nico got done.
Yeah, disappointed Shea didn't score. He didn't get 21 minutes though.
Yeah, as soon as he came on, he was coming on, I turned to people, he's not going to score. He's not given the...
Unless there was tons of extra.
Was it Anna who posted that on Twitter?
Yeah, Anna was the first one to notice that. 21-minute man.
I was talking to her on Friday night at the game about she is like an expert tweeter, or like, I don't know.
She is. She's going to help do AFTN social media, I hope.
That would
because I don't understand Instagram, so that's why we've got an account and never used it.
But yeah, no, I turned to people and I was just like, well, he's not going to score. He doesn't have 21 minutes. How is he going to score?
So another tweet we've got, and then we'll go to some ads. And yes, our favourite vampire ad will be here.
Is that for Duncan?
It's for Duncan and my wife, who heard it for the first time and loved it. She said it's one of the best ads ever.
Wait, you told me your wife doesn't listen to this.
She listened when I was editing Sunday's show tonight, which we finally was able to put up. Greg Petrie at Our Dumb World said, did I hear Robinson say in the audio we played there that there could have been 3 lineup changes at the half? He did say that. Philosophy change? He never subs before the 60th minute. But that is a standard thing for him. So we'll be back with some more talk about the game. We'll talk about the tackle on Davies. We'll talk about some of the individual players as well. Anyway, you are listening to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio, broadcasting on 101.9 FM, CITR.ca online, from the University of British Columbia on the unceded Musqueam Territory. The only soccer show on Vancouver FM Radio. So before the break, we had a lot of chat about the game, the win against SKC. And I think I know what everyone is dying for us to talk about. The tackle, Espindoza, on Alphonso Davies. So before we get into our thoughts on it, let's just play. Har went into the KC locker room and was speaking to a few of the guys there, and she spoke to Espindoza and was kind enough to let us have the audio for the show. So give her a follow on Twitter, @HarJournalist. And I think when you hear his take on how things happened, it might not be what we think. Let's hear now. Roger Espindoza.
Your thoughts on the match today?
I thought the first half we did really well. I think that goal kind of was very difficult for us. It cut us in a tough moment because I thought we were going to go into halftime 0-0 in the second half. We were trying to come back and we were pushing. I thought we got a little tired at the end.
Do you think playing on Wednesday and having as many games as you have recently maybe finally caught up to you guys?
Yeah, I think that was one of the reasons why. We're a team that likes to keep possession, keep the ball, but losing 1-0 on the road, we had the same thing in Orlando too. So we're coming back away twice. It makes it very tough. But hey, now we have a week of break and it's gonna be good for us.
What happened on that tackle with Davies?
I slid.
You slid?
I slid and then I was already going for the tackle. But it wasn't nothing bad. I cut him with this part right here. He got up and he said, "Hey, I saw you sleeping. No problem."
You think they might be supplemental disco?
That's not my decision. I have never injured a player in my career, so I don't think whether there should be a problem or a reputation. If I have injured a player before, then they should show it. But I've never injured a player before, so there's no reason why they should go. But hey, it's not my decision at the end of the day.
Gracias.
So that was Harjeet Johal talking to Roger Espindoza there, apparently in the shower or in a rainstorm or something by the sound of the background noise.
I was like, okay, she's going to open with, because if you know her, she always opens.
Yeah, she's direct.
Yeah, she often opens with, this is the most pressing question I want. It was like she buried it a little bit.
Yeah, she did really well with
that. She faked it. I what do you think about the game? Oh, too many games this week. Oh, and then she's just like,
then boom.
What happened on the tackle, Davey?
Bombshell. Yeah.
But as you heard there, nothing to it. It was fine. You don't agree?
Oh my goodness, it was shocking. Okay, so again, going back and watching the game, that was one of the things I wanted to look more closely at. First glance, it's a horrendous tackle. When you go back and you actually look at it again, it's shockingly bad. And the problem is, okay, so he says he slipped. And when you watch the replay, yes, you see him sort of going down. That's not the problem. The problem is that he is intentionally reckless. And he intentionally puts at harm the safety of his opponent. And if
who is only 16?
Who cares about that?
Child abuse.
If Disco,
exactly.
If Disco doesn't do something about that tackle, it shows how poor and maybe biased or whatever that they are. Because that he put his opponent in danger.
Well,
his
if they don't, child services surely will.
Yeah, it was shockingly bad.
It was, and at the time on Twitter I was going, how is that not a red? And then I thought, maybe I'll wait till I see the replay of it and I'll maybe change my mind. No. Yeah. For me, straight red, Gideon.
Yeah, sometimes in MLS we talk about protecting players. Certain players, maybe not. There's not an agreement, you could say, but sometimes the league does like to protect its star players. Alphonso, obviously 16, you can't really argue yet that he's a star, but he will be soon, and that's something that the league needs to address with that tackle from Espindoza. From where I was sitting behind the Kansas City goal, the Whitecaps goal in the second half, it was hard to see first glance, second glance, third glance, fourth glance on TV and on the replay systems of BC Place. Yeah. It was, albeit I will say, sorry to argue with you, but Espindoza was falling, but I will say the momentum was not. He could have got up and kind of deflected his feet, but he went studs up. It was also a scissor there, and at that point in the game, with all the tackles flying in with Lava and everybody else, that for me, if that's not a red card, I don't know what is. Albeit he was slipping, but that was pretty blatant.
A couple of things. First, it was great that we scored off that free kick. It was kind of like,
and you saw the joy from
face.
Robbo. He was like fist pumping.
He went
towards
right
the
into
KC
he looked
bench.
right at the fourth official and he just gave it to him.
Yeah.
So.
We got a tweet from again from Joe Deasy asking, "Do you think VAR would have sent Espindoza off?" And I would say, yeah, I
do
think
as
so.
well. I mean, you saw when the replay. Now, obviously, it's a biased home crowd, but when the replay was played on the big screen, the noise from everyone, and
it was shocking that they played it on the screen because I don't know.
Well, not really, because they do like to.
But they're not supposed to.
Yeah, they're
not. They're not supposed to, but they do.
Like they might, for example, they might get fined for doing that because they were showing a play that incited the crowd against the referee.
But you could also argue that Davies was down for a little bit, so maybe they showed the why he was injured, but also the tackle was there. So that's something that maybe you could argue. But again, that was. I don't have words to say about that, so I'm just going to leave it at that.
I mean, no one really wanted to say too much about it after the game, but it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to Simon Borg's instant replay to see what he thinks of it.
We started chanting, "Let's all have a disco," or "You're going to have a disco," or something like that. Yeah.
So we've covered that. Now I'm going to go back to a section we started a good few weeks ago, and then we never revisited it, as with most of the things that I seem to come up with segment-wise. So we're going to do a section now called Reasons to be Cheerful, Reasons to be Miserable. We're going to look at 3 things that made us happy from the game. Could be players, could be an incident. 3 things that kind of made us a little bit miserable. Which obviously for Zach's nothing, because you're obviously part of the Optimist Union and everything. But we'll find out.
I'm not part of the Optimist Union. I respect the Optimist.
Apparently I joined it with my optimistic comments last week.
True. And your predicted victory.
Yeah, we'll wait till they hear my predictions this week. Anyway, let's kick things off with Reasons to be cheerful.
Reasons to be cheerful. Part 3. Reasons to be cheerful. Part 3. Reasons to be cheerful. Part 3. Reasons to be cheerful. 1, 2, 3.
Ian Jury and the Blockheads there with Reasons to be Cheerful. I'm just going to name check all the songs I play now, because Steve's obviously not here, and Steve's been doing some of the songs for introductions and stuff. So
Gideon, Steve has done songs you've heard of before.
From this
from
millennium,
2017
this decade
or 16 either way.
Yeah, 2014. Anyway, John Mouse. Reasons to be cheerful. So let's kick things off. We'll let Gideon start. It's his first show. What was your main reason to be cheerful from that game against KC?
Something that I would have to say is the play of Christian Bolaños. I know he's talked about either playing the wing or attacking midfield role there is, either way he's good with. But I think right now, on the look of this Whitecaps team, if they do choose to stick with the 4-4-1-1, I'm okay with them playing out wide. But we talked about switching to the 4-2-3-1 with Alphonso coming on late. I wouldn't mind seeing him slot in behind Montero just because of the plays he made. Not just the 2 assists, because points don't usually get it done in soccer, but just the play. He communicates with everybody pretty well. He knows where people are going to be, which is something you don't usually get from a player coming into the league, say a Jordi Reyna right away. So he knows the team, he knows the system, he knows the players. That's something that's good. Also, something that was good was the play of Tim Parker and Kendall Waston. Not just the positioning, but the communication. And Kendall and really...
you just allowed one.
So, just the communication there.
3.
Oh, we're going to do 3 altogether.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, Zach, what is yours?
That's a good show for Bola. I tend to agree with that. It's I like how we're playing with inverted wingers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really enjoying that. I like my football with inverted wingers.
Anything else make you cheerful?
Yeah. Obviously, there's a few things. Just winning. And
it's always good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Especially at home.
Are we talking about? Sorry, just to clarify, are we talking about just this game, or are we talking about
just this game? What we took from this game?
Just this game.
Should probably have given you a little bit more detail as to what we're doing in this section before just doing it. But
I think I'll give a different. This is kind of a season one, but it's tied into the game as well. I think the fact that we've solidified the right back position with Shane Williams.
Yeah, Shannon has. I mean, I can't remember who it was. Someone tweeted it out. It might have been Perry, but someone tweeted out anyway. He's the unsung hero of the year. I don't think he is underrated. I think people do know what he has brought to this team.
Yeah, it's really good to not have to worry. You know, I know if you going back to 2011,
right back roulette.
Yeah, it was called right back roulette. And even though we had some people who we loved playing that position, it was a difficult season. But yeah, no, it looks like he's really made it his own, and he got an assist. Right, Michael's covering his mouth.
I'm trying not to make the joke that just popped into my head.
Oh, okay. Yeah, please don't. He got a second assist on the Bugs' beautiful volley. We got a clean sheet, which he was a part of, and then biasly he came and did the humba with us in our section after the match, which was great.
I've sent you the photo, by the way.
Yeah, it looks good. Thank you.
I should just have replied to your text message instead of doing it on a radio show, but yeah, I've sent you that photo. I mean, for me, my reason to be cheerful, Twin Peaks back after 25 years. Oh man!
Wait, is that Kendall and Timmy?
Yeah. Oh, there we go. There's a new nickname. Who's the log lady?
It's not answer that.
Really wish you guys watched the show.
I know what I didn't watch Twin Peaks. Part of me wishes I did, but I think they were running like old stuff on TV or whatever.
I've got the full box set, the prequel and everything.
I just saw something on TV and I was like, oh, it was like the beginning. I was like, oh, let's see what this is about, and it was just like, woo. It was a little bit.
It's probably an acquired taste. It was a very slow start to this first episode as well. If anyone didn't really know this show, it's not going to have folk thinking, oh, this is fantastic.
But it has it's a cult classic. Yeah. It has a cult following.
As I think we will find that Kendall and Timmy will have a cult following by the end of this season, which ties into my reason to be cheerful, which is another clean sheet. And for me, we talked about it earlier in the show, this change in the defence has been fantastic. And I was worried. Pre-season, I was a bit more comfortable with it. They weren't playing great opposition, but they did look more of a cohesive unit. Williams has come in and has really, really helped with that. And Timmy gave a nod to that after the game, and a lot of other folk have kind of spoken just about what he's meant to the team.
So I know you're talking about the clean sheet. I felt like Jordan had a bit of a better game on the whole.
Yes.
I didn't. No, I didn't. Timmy did, which we'll hear when we chat to him in a little bit, but I didn't.
Okay.
Well, for me, anyways, I saw the effort from Jordan Harvey was certainly there. In some games it is, but for his, I'm not going to say age, but for him it's tough. With a young kid.
He's a spring chicken.
Yeah, he is. But he's
32 or 31.
To me, he's a spring chicken.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, just like 3 times I counted the first half on Saturday. He won headers against guys that were taller than him. He fell down. He tackled hard. He was a great player that day. But yeah, it's disappointing when you lose Stephen Bates. Sure, going back to the right back point, but Shane Williams has stepped in and just done exceptionally well for this Whitecaps team.
Okay, why did you think Harvey?
I'm going to come to that in our next part of this.
I'm sorry.
Which is?
I'm sorry. You didn't tell me. It was weird.
No, you've meant to guess. Reasons to be miserable.
Reasons to be miserable. Another good excuse to be dead. It's one more thing to gripe about as I while away my days in bed.
Half man, half biscuit there with reasons to be miserable. This is more my kind of music. Dirge. And, again, mentioning this Wavelength song, which we come later in the show. Remember the song I played that you said was a dirge by the band I Ludicrous?
Yeah, it was like 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
And it was like an 8-minute song that was like, it was something from a funeral.
Yeah, guess who's the band of the night? Anyway, talking of reasons to be miserable, that'll be Zach later in the show.
So I enjoy listening to music that's different that I don't own. So
no one else plays this music on radio, I think, anywhere in the world. Even if I Ludicrous had their own radio show, I don't think they'd be playing these songs on it. Anyway, Gideon, what is your reason to be miserable from the game?
It's such a minor thing and such a good performance from the Caps, but I'd have to say that the lack of finishing in the final third, in the final 50 minutes. I will say, I think if you can remember the Alphonso Davies chance when he came in after Freddie played Debola, there was 3 quality chances there. All 3 players did everything right. Alphonso maybe took an extra touch, but Freddie shot it first time, which was great, and Teixeira's shot was just wide. But just the chances were there. Obviously that post from Timmy Parker, but it's got to be a little bit better. You're not 2-0 is good, but it's hard to say with this team right now.
It's it was a good performance. Kansas City without Dwyer is a different beast. 3 games in 8 days, all that kind of stuff. I
know there's no one to throw your popcorn at.
Yeah. They also weren't. I mean, obviously we've talked about some of their tackling already, and they. I think when Benny Feilhaber doesn't start there, they do less tactical fouls than when he does play, because I think he gets away with a lot of them. I think so. I agree with you. It's a little bit hard to pick one thing. I know what Michael's going to say, so I'm not going to say that. So I'm just going to say the missed PK, because you have to score those.
It's got to be concerning a little bit.
This is going to come as a surprise to everyone. I didn't think Jordan Harvey had that good a game. At first half. Second half he was okay, in that I didn't really notice he did anything wrong, but that was partly because KC didn't have the ball that much. The first half, the amount of times that Fernandez was getting past him and Parker was kind of scary.
But let me ask you this. Is that it's not, I mean, it's a general thing for Jordan Harvey. The pace isn't there, the positioning is, but you could say that it does happen. I didn't notice that as much before, but I did notice in previous games that he does get caught out quite a bit. But especially on Saturday, he positioned himself very well against a very quicker Kansas City attack than normal.
It wasn't my biggest thing to be miserable about from the game.
What was that?
It was actually what Gideon said. It was the lack of taking those chances, because, fortunately, they scored the 2 goals. If it gets down to a game where you're really needing to finish those chances, or if KC had got a goal back and were pushing for an equaliser, that's the kind of things that is going to hurt you. But going back to Jordan, it is a worry for me. He isn't having his best season, and I'm a big Jordan Harvey fan. For me, he was the Player of the Year last year. I think he was the AFTN Player of the Year. I can't remember now. It's worrying for me that there's nothing really. If he wants a rest, you've got Marcel de Jong that isn't really a left back. Brett Levis isn't available to go.
July.
Christian Dean, it should be back training within a month. So that's some good news there.
Yeah, I saw him yesterday.
He's in a boot still.
He's in the boot still.
But he is. It's not as bad as everyone first feared.
Yeah.
And he hopes to be back training in about a month.
Yeah, about
so
4
unlucky.
weeks.
Yeah.
So
but
unlucky.
also, he isn't really a left back. But
Sam Adekube is.
Sam was in the elevator with me, but I never asked him.
I think he was training with the guys yesterday, or doing stuff with the there's
You'd love him to be good to go for the game on Tuesday, but I don't think he will.
Yeah. Have we confirmed? Would he be eligible? Is he eligible? I know
Robbo depends who they name in the roster.
Right, but a whole bunch of I guess people on social media or whatever, some are like, he's not eligible till a new window opens.
There's a debate as to, right? Yeah, it's debatable when the class is the English season finishing.
But also because did they not recall him because of the injury, and B just because of other things that went on? But
it depends what they've put it through as.
Okay.
If they could have cancelled the loan for all we know, because there's not a lot of kind of transparency there, and it was always the talk of, well, he's going to go back, but he was never going to go back because the season was finishing.
Right.
To be fair, though, he did play well at Brighton when he was there, but it's nice to have him back for sure.
So that was our reasons to be cheerful, reasons to be miserable. If you've got any others that we didn't cover there, send us a tweet at AFTN Canada. Also tweet us with anything you want to chat about at AFTN Canada. We talked about the excellent play from Tim Parker, and it was another solid performance all round. A couple of times in the first half, I did think he was caught a little bit out of position, partly because of Jordan Harvey. But he's been a rock this year. He's been back to his best. He didn't have a great 2016 after a fantastic rookie season his sophomore year. It wasn't a slump, but it wasn't fantastic. And he admits that himself. He was a bit disappointed with how he played last year. So got a chance to chat with Tim after the game. Har was there as well, asked a couple of questions, and we just kind of talked about his first MLS goal, what it's like to be part of this unique club as one of the players to have scored in all 3 of the competitions for the Whitecaps. We're trying to work out who else might have done that. We thought Nicolas Mosqueda, Teixeira as well, possibly Hurtado as well. So he's in great company. Zach's just pulling a funny face, or that might be his face, I don't know. The wind might have changed. But anyway, let's hear now our exclusive chat with the Whitecaps goal-scoring hero, Timmy Parker. So it's probably felt like a long time coming. But what was it like to get that first MLS goal?
A relief, I'd say, probably. I've come close a numerous amount of times, and I think it's just finally fallen my way, maybe.
And you're in a kind of rare club. You're a guy that's now scored for the Caps in MLS, Canadian Championship, and CONCACAF Champions League. So how does that feel?
It's good. You know, I always made a joke that I only scored in finals because that was my record until now. But it's just good to just obviously get on the score sheet in general.
Tim, did you know it was going to come right for you, or maybe Kendall was in there too?
No, we kind of practiced during the week, just exposing kind of certain areas of the field, and I saw it go over Kendall's head. I didn't get much on it, and I think it might have taken another deflection on the way in, but you know, I was just fortunate to get something on it to make it go somewhere on goal.
Your play this year, you've been one of the really solid guys in the defence. Carol was singing your praises after the match there. How do you feel you've played this year compared to last season?
I definitely think I stepped it up a little bit. I think last year was kind of my first full year as a starter, and it was kind of a tough year, you know, obviously mentally and obviously just following the consistency level that I need to be in. And I think this year I've kind of figuring out what kind of player I want to be, and obviously that consistency thing is what I want to pride myself on. And if I have a bad game here and there, that's okay, but I think week in, week out, I want to do certain things the right way.
And talking of consistency, 5 unchanged lineups now. As a defender, how important is it to you to get that chemistry built up so much?
Yeah, I mean, in the back line, it's great. I think we're grooving pretty well now. I think we're not giving up many chances, and in front of us, it's good. You know, I think we all understand the kind of team we want to be in, the kind of players we want, and how we want to play the game. And I think we all understand that as a starting 11, but also the guys on the bench that are ready to come in and make a difference.
And the team last year, defensively, there was quite a few calamities, for want of a better word. What's been the difference? What's turned it around so much this year?
You know, I think obviously Shannon coming in, and then obviously Kendall and I have obviously both stepped up our games, I think, this year compared to last year. And then Jordan's just one of the most consistent players in the league, I think, in terms of what he gives game in and game out. So I think from that, I think it's just us taking more responsibility and more pride in what we do.
Tim, how important was it to come home and set a tone and get a result after being away from BC Place for so long?
Very important. You know, I think we have a lot of games coming up here very quickly. So I think we wanted to make sure that we start off on the right foot, get the fans behind us, and hopefully that carries on throughout the rest of the home stretch.
You took a bit of a knock there towards the end. How are you feeling after that?
It's all right. It's all right. I fell on some meat, but no, it'll be okay. I'll be all right going forward.
And the play that you've had this year, you've been involved in the fringes of the American national team setup. Is that in the back of your mind that you could possibly get a chance, or have they been speaking to you about anything like that?
No, I mean, for me, it's just I just want to make sure that I'm doing what I can here to obviously put myself in a good position there. You know, I think for me, obviously playing for your country is an honor, and I mean, if that comes, that's great, and if it doesn't, I just have to keep doing what I can to make sure that my name maybe does come in discussion there.
Have you heard from Bruce at all?
No, I have not.
Thanks, Tim.
Timmy Parker there after his great goal against Kansas City. First thing, quickly talk about, I was a little bit worried about he might be injured. He seems to think he's fine. He did get treatment for a little bit after the game. As he said, he fell in a bit of meat. Might be his nice way of saying his ass, I don't know. But hopefully he's okay, because he's definitely, the understanding that he has formed with Kendall this year has been fantastic. And just as well, because the way that the centre-back situation was at one point, they were the only two healthy centre-backs. But he's had a great season.
Yeah, you know, especially I think I mentioned this earlier in the podcast, but last year when Egger came in, he was a bit out of favor. I remember the Colorado game. I think he had to play right back, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was Fraser Aird, but he was out of place. And now for a guy that's not really been thrown into it, but, with Edgar gone for the year, he's been very good in stepping up, and that's something Carl Robinson must be smiling about because he's a guy that he's stolen a draft, I believe the 2014 draft, so that's a big win for the Whitecaps, and as well, he's a tough guy, but right now with the way that the center back situation is with just Seiler healthy, you'd think that Tim and Kendall would get the full 90 on Tuesday. Maybe Andrew Jacobson, could slide in, but I don't know about that and playing that many minutes and that many days for Andrew.
I think to the supporters, Timmy Parker's performances make us love him, but the fact that he's scored against the Flounders in a Champions League match, he scored against Montreal in the Voyageurs Cup final, the only time we've ever won the Voyageurs Cup, there's something special about that and something special about him, and it's he's a lovable guy. It's been great to see, like you said, hit this kind of partnership solidify. I think coming into this year, prior to what happened with David and his accident in the offseason, David Edgar, I think there were some real questions as to what would the central partnership in our defense look like for this season? Would it be Tim? Would it be David? Some people were even calling for Kendall to be the odd man out. But it's been great to see these two guys really form a bond, have an understanding. I think also a part of this is, which we've talked about in the past, is the role that Kendall having the armband plays and kind of having him settled in this kind of leadership role. And I'm excited to see how Timmy continues to play in this season. And we are, as you mentioned, in a bit of an awkward situation with just this week alone, some fixture congestion, and we're.
Paul Seiler is at least healthy again, so there is at least a third proper centre back, and AJ that can slot.
Nerwinski can play centre back, I think, as well, right?
I'm not sure, but he is healthy as well. So that's good.
So Nerwinski is available for selection. Seiler's available for selection. Kyle Gregg's back available for selection. Marco Bustos is back available for selection. So
we'll talk about the Canadian Championship.
Yeah.
And who might be available, because there's still a little bit of a grey cloud which I wasn't able to get clarified on Saturday night as to which WFC 2 players are eligible for it, because it could open up centre-backs available from that as well.
Even on a beautiful weekend in Vancouver, there's always a grey cloud somewhere.
There is, usually in my heart. But just before we wrap up talking about Timmy, at the end they were talked about possibly he might be involved with the US national team. And the Whitecaps tweeted out today, "Are you watching Bruce Arena?" And you might not have seen that. They had a bit of his goal and they said, "Are you watching Bruce Arena?"
Yeah.
They do know that the US men's national team always injures our players, right?
Yeah, especially centre-backs.
Yes.
Yeah. But Gold Cup coming up, you don't know exactly yet how the US are going to approach it, whether they're going to go for a full-on, full-strength team, whether it's going to be a US, North American kind of based squad, whether they're going to want to look at some young guys or whatever. If he keeps his play up, I really wouldn't be surprised if Timmy, who has been on the fringes, been in some training camps, if he is involved possibly with the Gold Cup squad, or at least the training camp before the Gold Cup squad.
The only problem is, I think one of the problems is that younger domestic centre backs is not really their area of need.
No, they are quite 10 a penny, really. As the draft shows every year, that seems to be the strongest position in every MLS draft.
And I don't think the national team is really in super need. I think he would have to do a considerable amount more here
exactly.
to actually be drawn in for a camp. So we'll see what happens, but I mean, obviously we hope that he will, because that'll be good for him, be good for his morale, good for us, but yeah, we'll see how that all plays out.
Yeah, with the squad that's Mexico put out for the provisional squad, I think Bruce Arena will have one look at European players and one look at current base players in North America. But, with the way Tim Parker is playing right now with Kendall, I think both guys could actually get a shout, one for Costa Rica and one for the U.S., but...
Yeah. No,
it'd be a big loss for us as well.
Well, yeah, that is true. Yes,
that would be. There's a chance that Robbo could decline it. He always says he won't, but you have to think.
Yeah.
If there's no other fit centre backs.
Well, he's not going to stop Kendall from playing for Costa Rica.
Oh no.
But
But Parker and Seiler do actually play well together, so I don't have that big a concern. But the Ginger brothers,
the Americans are really deep, and I think for Arena has a really good relationship with, for example, Omar Gonzalez, who's playing in Mexico and been playing very well. Helped Pachuca win the Champions League. I think he is like for sure one of their starters, and they have like a list of like 3, 4, 5, 6 guys who I think are ahead of Tim Parker. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
See, I'm torn. I would like him to play, but at the same time, I don't want to lose him for the summer, especially because Kendall's pretty much definitely going to be away.
Yeah.
And there's going to be other guys possibly away as well.
Oh yeah, and I think he has a chance in the future, but I think he's got to build his reputation.
He's
got to build his portfolio.
Young.
Yeah, but
he's definitely turned his game around from last year.
Yeah, with the way that I think the schedule is right now, that there is no MLS games for a couple weeks, I believe, with the Gold Cup. Either way, though, that is a risk.
We have a free week in July.
Yeah, so even then, sending arguably your best center backs away to international, that is a risk, because obviously there's a risk for injury. But I wouldn't mind seeing Tim Parker on the 30-man provisional just to get his feet wet and kind of enjoy the center veterans, I should say. On that team.
Also, remember, Robbo won't block pathways.
No. So, we're going to be back after these messages with some talk about the Voyageurs Cup. That one's for you, Zach. And there's some interesting chat to have about that. So we'll be back to chat about that after these messages. So certainly check out the UBC Yoga Club there. And just a little plug, if anyone is looking for a yoga instructor, my wife has just become a qualified yoga teacher. So drop us a message at AFTN Canada.
I thought you were going to step in there.
No,
I was a little scared.
She has tried to teach me yoga. And I am apparently one of the most inflexible people, and not just with my views, but I'm one of the most inflexible people that she's ever come across.
Oh, boy.
But she's a fully qualified yoga teacher now, so if anyone wants to hire one, get in touch with us. We might bring some sponsorship. It might be something like the Caitlin McCall yoga.com AFTN.
She took your name?
She did. I made her. That's what we do in Scotland. Because we got married in Scotland.
Oh, okay.
In the Black Isle on Halloween. I was dressed all in black. Nothing satanic about it, but we did then go to a burial ground.
So speaking of the Black Isle and islands or whatever, have you seen how the Whitecaps are promoting Tuesday's Voyageurs Cup match?
Battle of the North.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's like a Game of
Thrones. I thought it was.
Yeah, I don't buy it.
Who's going to be the White Walkers? Who's going to be Ned Stark? And I like Game of Thrones as well. Do you watch it?
I've heard of the show.
Okay, it's not as good as Twin Peaks.
Oh, it's not okay. That's good to know.
Very different shows. And you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio, broadcasting from the University of British Columbia on the unceded Musqueam Territory, brought to you in partnership with bcsoccerweb.com, your one-stop site for all your BC, national and international news and links, and some fantastic local photographs as well from Bill Curry and his team there. So now we're going to get to what I think Zach's just been itching to talk about. TSS Rovers. No, the Canadian Championship, Voyageurs Cup, kicks off on Tuesday for the Battle of the North. Well, it doesn't kick off because we've already had the preliminary round between those two also-rans.
Oh, I don't like that.
What?
I don't know. Your NASL versus USL doesn't have the... I stick with the Canadian thing, but I don't know. It's just tough to see Edmonton, or I should say Ottawa, in the USL now. But
well, I hope you've enjoyed Gideon on tonight's show. It's going to be the last time he's on.
I was just going to say the same thing.
I want a wide open Canadian Championship with TSS Rovers.
No, yeah, I know.
The Canadian PL teams, and with Club Inter winning the BC Provincial, get them in it.
Yeah, Ottawa's going to give Toronto a run for their money. I know that for sure.
I don't. I think they're going to get hammered, but that's just the nature of the beast. I think they would have given us a run for our money.
We'll see how Toronto takes it, because you saw last year when we went to Ottawa.
Yeah,
we did not play well.
Yeah, but
the squad that game was
Toronto basically cannot take this tournament seriously in one sense, in that they already have 1 foot in next year's Champions League, because even if they lose to Ottawa, they're going to have a playoff game against whoever wins this year's Canadian Championship. They can afford to field a weaker team.
I think we talked about this earlier.
We did.
Could they handle the PR of going out to Ottawa to save some fixture congestion?
Do you know, I don't think anyone would really care. That's the sad thing about it. And, seriously, it's the sad thing about it. They could do that,
Be
and
off.
because they're walking away, well, not walking away, but because they're doing well in the East just now, folk want them to win the Supporters' Shield. Folk want them to win the MLS Cup. I really don't think the majority of any Canadian team's fan base really care whether they're in the Champions League or not. A lot of them do care whether they win the Canadian Championship.
I think you're wrong on that.
I'm never wrong.
No, I think
fake news.
No, I think you're wrong. I think all of them, having had a taste of going to, we've all gone to the semifinals at least.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to. I meant to ask Robbo that on Saturday, and I forgot, so I'm going to ask him on Monday, which doesn't help this show. But there we go.
Yeah, no, I think everyone's had a taste, and they know how significant it is, and the opportunity is. Plus, it's like, I don't know,
it's good exposure.
Yeah, it was great to play Olympia from Honduras. Like, I just, love that.
I thought they were from Washington.
Oh boy,
wrong Olympia.
No, yes, wrong Olympia.
Okay,
and
worst hotel I've ever stayed in was the Olympia Inn. By the way,
really?
If you're ever driving and you're thinking, I just want to stop on my way somewhere, and you see a sign saying Olympia Inn, dreadful. Seriously,
don't cross Michael.
No.
No, I've enjoyed. I enjoyed it. Even Central FC. Okay, that wasn't that as exciting, other than the fact that result meant we topped our group. But it was nice to play somebody different. Ken when Jones came.
I love it. You don't have to convince me.
Yeah.
People like Gideon here who don't even think Ottawa should be in the.
It's going to be
no. Here's the thing. I have no problem with those teams being in it. It's just the fact that they have to play each other the first round. Just because you'd like to see the underdog make it farther.
Straight knockout would be good. Oh, so that's what you meant. You didn't like the two of them had to.
No, I love those guys, but it's just it's just a tough playoff for the league, USL and ASL. Yeah. So
Edmonton and Ottawa supporters, Gideon loves you.
Yeah. So he'll give his Twitter account later in the show, and you can send the messages.
You'll get lots of notifications.
But, no, like seriously, it should be a knockout competition, randomly drawn, with seeded teams, obviously, because that's just how draws kind of work these days. But
what about by geography? Because that's what the States do, and that's probably what we'll end up doing.
See, I love the US Open Cup. I really don't feel that enough people in the US appreciate what a wonderful competition they have.
It is.
And it is regional.
It's regional in the early stages, and then in the final
tougher.
It gets...
One thing you talked about topping a group against Central. I don't know how we make it first, but we still have to play some of the best teams in the champion, like Red Bulls, and then we have to play Tigres. Like that's unfortunate, but anyways.
Zach running away to cough, not realising that the door is open. We can still hear you cough. So let's hear a little bit from Robbo now. As I said, I forgot to ask him if being in the Champions League has made him even hungrier to get in it again. But he does have some interesting things to say about the Voyageurs Cup and his disappointment as to how it ended last year and what the squad might look like for at least the first game or the first two games against Montreal. So let's just hear some thoughts from Robbo.
Just on that game, Carl, just the challenge that Montreal poses. I mean, they have to fly across the continent. Just sort of your thoughts ahead of that one.
Tough game. They're all tough games in MLS. I know it's in the Canadian Championship. It's a tough game. We threw it away last year. And it was heartbreaking. And I'll rest some guys. There's no secret there. Players will get opportunities to play because we've got 5-6 games in a 3-week span. So when you get your opportunity, I just suggest you take it because when these healthy boys are coming back as well, it's going to be great competition. I'm going to have lots and lots of headaches.
And just again, talking about Tuesday, the squad's not out yet, but is the plan to possibly bring up some of the Canadian WFC2 guys?
Yes, it is. We'll go through that now. Literally, the guys are talking about it in there already. They had a break in the USL schedule, but there was a number of guys that I wanted to bring in to try and trim that down to see who I pick for the first team game on Tuesday. So there will be a number of guys that are involved.
Carl Robinson there, just talking a little bit about the Voyageurs Cup, finishing a little bit earlier than I was expecting there. But yeah, the squad.
Let's play some squad roulette.
I think we know for a fact there's going to be rotation. Now, what he has done in the past is he's done mass 9, 10, 11 players rotation, which I'm not a fan of because it destroys chemistry, just putting a bunch of guys that haven't really played together as a team before. Is there anyone that you can think of, though, that has been playing in these 5 games unchanged that you realistically expect to see on Tuesday night?
Well, going back to the 9, 10, 11 players you talked about last year in Ottawa, example A, like that was just a brutal game. So that's something that Robinson's learned from clearly. One player that you would say I think would be Tony Chaney, just because he got subbed off early. I don't know if that was one eye on Tuesday, but I think that's one guy that you would like to see in the 11 for Robinson, and another one guy that hasn't been in the lineup. I would like to see Paulo Tornaghi, just because Richie got the early season game, but Paulo's obviously the story there. He left, he came back, and he deserves a start after being on the bench for pretty much 3 years now.
What do you think about that, Michael?
I was talking to Har about this after the game on Saturday. I think Tornaghi will get the start for the exact reasons that you've said.
Mm-hmm.
I think Richie should get the start because I think he's the better goalkeeper right now, and he's put in some really strong performances for WFC too, as has Sean Melvin, actually, who really has played himself into contention for getting an MLS contract for next year. Paulo, when he didn't get the start after Ousted was suspended, it does make you kind of wonder how much faith they have in him. And if he didn't play in this game and Richie got the start, he's going to be wondering, why am I here? I didn't play when the number one suspended. I didn't play in this tournament.
Yeah, but one thing you can mention, if they want to keep the same starting 11, usually, or similar to that, they want to rest some guys, but some of the guys in the team right now that are playing well are not Canadian, so you could think that if they need to have that 3 Canadians in lineup role, they might need to play Richie in goal, which would obviously suck for Paulo because of the fact that
he is American.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought he was Canadian.
No, he's from Washington State, which
he's from
is close to
He's
being,
from Cascade.
Yeah,
it's been fun.
Although, actually, he did tweet out, he has got a Canadian relative, and he wanted to tweet out if anyone knew what the eligibility requirements were to play for Canada.
No, I think it's got to be grandparents, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't remember exactly who the relative was, but whoever it was, I don't think he qualified.
No.
But I can't really see any of the starters starting this game. If they've got 2 fit centre-backs, I don't think we'll see any.
So I could see AJ playing centre-back.
That's a lot of heavy minutes for him, though.
Right. Let's quickly go through the team. So goalkeeper, who do you think, Zach? You going to go for Paulo or are you going to go for Spencer?
I'm going to go for Paulo. I was going to say I would be unsurprised if it was Spencer, but that's probably not the right word.
Is that even a word?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Sorry, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Spencer, based on what they did in San Jose. But I believe you're right. If they do that, I think the morale of Paulo will be even crushed even more than it has been in the past. And you're right. Like you kind of might lose him mentally for the rest of the season.
I think he would.
And he's been an incredible professional in his time here. I think he's had a.
I'm not knocking him.
Yeah.
I just think at the moment and the way that they're playing, and it's kind of hard to say because you haven't even seen Tornaghi play, but Spencer Richie is playing well. And I don't think Spencer really expected to get that start in San Jose. It was a bit of a surprise for him.
I mean,
but he did well.
Yeah.
Obviously, it didn't end well, but that wasn't his fault. But yeah, the left back and right back slots for me, Jake Nowinski's going to come in at right back.
Yes, for sure.
No problems with that at all. We saw him kind of alternating with Shannon Williams at the start of the year, and he's done well for a rookie. He's one of the few. It's definitely not been a lot, but of our draft picks, he's been MLS ready when he's come to us.
Exactly.
And a lot of the guys we've had in the draft, it's taken them a little bit of time to get to the MLS ready stage.
Does K Banjo ring a bell?
Poor K Banjo.
He rings a few notes, that guy. So do you think Marcel is going to start at left back?
Marcel de Jong left back, I think.
Because Jordan needs a break.
Jordan has to have a break.
And we don't have any other options.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, the centre back pairing is another one. Yeah. Seiler is a definite. It's who plays with him. I just have a sneaking feeling that if he's good to go, they might play Timmy beside him because last pre-season they played together. This pre-season they had some time on the field together. They've got an understanding. They're both ginger. They're both from
they're mates
the East.
too.
Like they're good friends. They played against each other at college. And when Seiler came, he said he looks up to Tim and he's followed his career and he kind of models him and watches how he plays and stuff like that. Maybe they're too similar. But AJ being back there as the experienced head could be a good shout as well.
I could also see Kendall back there, but it could go either way.
Yeah, I mean, Kendall,
I think
he's a guy that could go.
Yeah, I think
like
you might see
3
one of them.
games in 8 days, no problem at all.
Yeah. So before we go to midfield, I think we're switching formations to 4-2-3-1.
I think it's going to be a 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
But he has liked the 4-1-4-1. Well, he maybe want to try and experiment with some players in that to see how they would do if he wants to keep that into the summer when he always rests players in the summer and mixes things up in the summer. Especially these tough games that come up in July where we're always in the likes of Dallas and Colorado and places like that. He might want to keep the 4-1-4-1 just to see how they fit into that.
That's if Matthias Laba is getting a rest. Well, we talked about this before. Maybe
he might not.
Exactly.
If Matthias Laba plays because he's not playing against DC on Saturday, then I could see a 4-1-4-1. If not, I highly doubt it.
I do think they'll go for the 4-2.
But
3-1.
Yeah.
That means
it's late. I can't count.
That'd probably mean that Lava or McKendry would play not Tybert, which 4-1-4-1 allows you to play Tybert, Lava, and McKendry.
I mean,
but
Tybert and McKendry could definitely play in a 4-2.
No, I have no argument with that, but I wouldn't mind seeing Matthias Lava if he's eligible to play in that game, just because they don't have an eye on
and
Saturday.
He has played in Voyageurs Cup games before Champions League.
He's played in Voyageurs Cup. Just ask people in Edmonton.
Yeah, wonderful goal.
Yes,
I think we'll see McKendry and Tybert.
Yep.
McKendry, for me, this is a great chance for him to show that he's better than Tybert and to show that he deserves to be involved more in the squad. He is having a fantastic season for WFC too. He's getting goals, he's making chances, he's getting forward. He's a real box-to-box defender.
They did the halftime piece on him for this.
Yes, I mean, they did a halftime piece. He's clearly going to be playing. I had planned to speak to him for tonight's show, but once they did that, I was like, can't do 2 pieces in the 1 week.
Yeah, well, and they have to have 3 Canadians on the pitch at all times, right?
No, it's just 3 to start. Oh, so play them for a minute, hold them off, get the good guys on.
Are you serious? It's just to start.
It's 3 to start, yeah.
What's wrong with these people? They don't have.
It makes it complicated. What if there's injuries and you don't have 3 available Canadians?
Which is basically
then it forces you to have 6 Canadians in the team.
No.
Yeah, like in 18. Is
Zach,
that too much?
You do not have to worry. This is going to be a jam-packed squad of Canadians.
This is true. Yeah.
Seriously, you have nothing to worry about there.
So right now you have 3 in yours.
Yeah.
Plus, so you have Marcel, you have Rusty, you have Ben.
Yep.
And Alphonso is definitely...
Alphonso will be on the right wing for me.
Yeah.
And then, for me, I could see them doing Mosquito as the 10, but then who goes on the left? Now, you could put Davies on the left. You could put Bustos on the right, which I would hate because I hate on the wing.
Put him in the middle.
But you could put also Bustos in the middle and then have Mosquito on the
I wouldn't
left.
mind that. But also, do you think Bustos would get the start? With the way he played against, obviously his first start last year. And
if he hadn't have picked up his hamstring injury, I think they may have gone with him.
Yeah.
But
he's fully fit right now.
He is fully fit. He scored 2 goals now for WFC2, but both penalties. But one of them he earned because he was hauled down. I don't know. I think it's a gamble.
At least we know who
to
will
go
take
with
the penalties.
Yeah. I think it's a gamble to start with Marco. But if you don't start Marco in a game like this, what's the point of having him around? When's he going to start?
Throw Mauro Rosales in there.
Again, it's a question of morale.
There is that option as well. Like Mauro on the right and Mosquito as a 10, and then Davies on the left.
Yeah, there you go.
Did you say Mauro deserves it?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say... I mean,
you don't like him because he played for Seattle.
I know. I get on well with Mauro. I just...
You don't refer to him as the Argentine.
I haven't been to training lately, so
I haven't actually been to training much recently, but I've got lots of spare time coming up. I'm going to be going for a lot more.
Nice. So, and then Kyle's playing up front?
Well, I think so. But Robbo said during the week that Shea he can't go a whole game. He could go a half at a stretch.
So this is not the time to stretch it.
Do you start him and then bring Kyle on at half-time?
Not a good idea.
Do you start Kyle, who can go 60, 65, 70 minutes, and then bring Shea on?
Unless something has changed since that comment was made. I remember when it was made. Unless something's changed, no, you don't. Why would you stretch it? If it was a second leg and we're down, okay, maybe.
Yeah. For me, go with Kyle.
Yes. Let him catch on fire.
he's eager to get this first goal for the first team. And I think he could get it against Montreal. Montreal, great result of the weekend.
Yeah, big result.
Great result for everyone.
Yes. They're going to bring a very depleted roster for this one.
You would have to think no Laurent Simon or Zima. None of the 3DPs, I think, anyways, would make the trip.
If my source is right, there's no Piatti.
Sans Piatti.
Sans Piatti.
Is that his first name? I thought it was natural.
That's a good one.
I don't speak any other languages. Barely speak English.
I thought you speak Scottish.
I do.
Yeah.
They are going to bring a depleted team, and this, I honestly don't think Montreal really care too much about this competition.
Why do you feel that way?
Pressure is on them at the moment, league-wise.
Correct.
The win at the weekend
helps.
Big, huge.
Maybe makes them put a little bit more on it. If they can do what Vancouver's done in previous things and go with a depleted squad in the first leg, then come back with a much stronger one in the second leg, if they're still in it, I think the second leg we could see a much different team.
Yeah, which I think they've done in the past.
Yeah, they can do it at home for sure. But one player that I'm looking forward to quickly here from Montreal is the young kid, Blue Ives Tabla, who has been really well. He scored in his first game, and he's going to be something special. They say the next Alphonso. I'm not sure about that, but he is a very good player for this Montreal team.
Yeah, I hope he chooses Canada. That's all I'll say about Baloo.
Yeah. He's keeping his options open now by the sounds of it. Declined selection for the under-20 team, was it? Or was it under-17?
One of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Canadian Player of the Year as well, under-17 as well. So, I mean, that's disappointing.
Well, his other option is Côte d'Ivoire.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help that he had a significant amount of contact with a significant individual from the Côte d'Ivoire for a period of time. And that was probably in his ear about the opportunity.
If he moves to Phoenix, then I would really start to get worried. So, some quick predictions. How do you see this first leg going, first of all?
Right now, with the way that Vancouver's playing, albeit the squad that they may put out, I'd say either a 1-1 draw or a 2-1 Whitecaps victory for the first leg. I don't see it being a overhaul, you could say, with goals. But
wait, he can choose two different things, and it's okay? You guys always rip on me when I choose two different things.
Okay,
he said it's
you're a regular.
Sorry, 2-1 final.
He's going for 2-1 final one.
Okay, we have to keep a clean sheet. I'm going to say 2-0.
I am also going for 2-0. Wow,
2 weeks in a row.
I know, optimistic.
Yikes.
Second question. Do you see them coming through this tie over the two legs, and is it a formality that they're going to be playing TFC in the final?
Yeah, that's a tough one to answer. I see them winning, but I see them having a very, very difficult time with it against a Montreal team that good at home. Always been good in the Voyageurs Cup, but I think if they do play Toronto, let's not get that far ahead of ourselves. But I do see them beating Montreal closely. It'll be a good two-legged series for sure.
I see us beating Montreal. I think the 2-1 league victory a couple weeks ago helps for morale, helps for the mindset. Helps.
Totally.
I think also because we've seen a settled. I'm hoping because we've seen such a settled team, more than we've ever seen in the history of the MLS side, that those players who are not a part of that will take this opportunity that's given to them.
They have to.
Yeah. Even though, yes, they will not have played games together. That needs to stop being an excuse.
Exactly.
And you're playing enough together in training in different combinations. You need to put it together. You need to show that you belong in that starting 11 and then the 18. And this is your opportunity. And I hope we'll be able to do that. Get past Montreal. Beyond that, obviously, I dream of Ottawa beating Toronto so that we can have the second leg at home. But
that would be wonderful.
That would be dreamy. But regardless, hopefully, I think TFC will probably go through, and it'll be a very difficult two-legged series.
You could argue that also these guys have played some WFC2 games together, so that will help. But obviously, it'll the excuse for not playing together is far past.
One slight concern I have is they're only going to have tomorrow, Monday, as the the one day that this team is going to train together because they cancelled training today.
Well, yeah. Well, today would have been a day for the players who played.
It would have been rehab, but all those guys weren't going to be playing. So
that's true.
This was a chance to have those guys, although they may have trained and just not told us.
No. Well, okay.
It might just be Nathan, because I was wanting to go to training today and he told me it was cancelled.
All the guys who weren't in the 18 yesterday had a big training session during the day at BC Place.
Yeah.
And then the guys who were in the 18 did quite a bit of work afterwards as well. So they got today off and then Monday together.
I'm totally confident that the Caps are going to score in Montreal. So I see us going through, and for me it is a formality that's TFC.
We got a tweet from Hugh Bolaños, who he's sort of asking a question, sort of expressing frustration. He says, no Zameli. And he's really disappointed, I believe, because he has a Swiss connection. And he was robbed of Tranquillo Barnetta coming here to Vancouver this year. And I think he's disappointed he might not see another Swiss player.
If it makes him feel better, we'll buy him a Toblerone.
Hugh Bolaños, Michael McCall owes you a Toblerone.
I didn't say I was going to buy it. I said we can group together. If you call now on 604-82-2487 and donate, we will get huge Bolaños. It is actually a phone number. We'll get him a Toblerone.
Yeah, don't call that number.
Yeah, don't call that number because we haven't actually made the phone lines live.
We don't. It's
we don't know how to
it's
work
not huge. It's Hugh Bolaños.
But that's a joke. It's huge Bolaños, huge anus. That's how I've always read it.
All right.
Moving on, it's my favourite part of the show now. Wavelength, the section of the show where we bring you a football-related song. And it's one of our favourites at the show here. Maybe not Zach's, but one of mine. The 1980s new wave punk band I Ludicrous, still going strong, with a song all about Colin Moynihan. So Zach, tell us what you know about Colin Moynihan.
That's about it.
Okay.
Wait, so who should I know who Colin was?
Yeah, Colin Moynihan was the UK sports minister from 1987 to 1990 in the Margaret Thatcher government.
I just forgot, I'm sorry.
He was known, him and Thatcher kind of combined, they wanted to bring in an ID card scheme so that every football fan had to have an ID card.
Is it Paul Barber's relative?
Yeah. Or you weren't allowed to buy tickets for games. You weren't allowed to travel, and there was going to be CCTV cameras in all these grounds, and they wanted to they wanted to really introduce archaic things and treat all football supporters as kind of criminals. And there was a big backlash against it, and there was going to be a bill that came out, and there was lots of marches and stuff like that. So if we're topical here at AFTN, we are going to play a song now all about Colin Moynihan. And this is from I Ludicrous, from their 20 Years of Show Business album. And this is Moynihan Brings Out the Hooligan in Me.
1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
I've never been more than an average fan. I've never been much of an angry young man. But when I see his face and I hear him speak, I want to cause mayhem out in the streets. Moynihan brings out the hooligan in me. 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 Here's a man with no stature, a man with no shame, conspiring with Thatcher to kill off our game. One law for supporters, one law for the rich, but none for the minister who runs on the pitch. For Moynihan brings out the hooligan in me. Moynihan brings out the hooligan in me. Moynihan brings out the hooligan in me. Oh, 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 yodel. And inflatable bananas, oh, but I don't take any chances with a man with all the answers, oh, sporting. I know it's a sin to mock him for being so short and so thin, but he can threaten with prison, he can threaten with fines, he can shove his ID cards where the sun never shines. Moynihan brings out the hooligan in me. 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 Moynihan brings out the hooligan in me.
I Ludicrous there with Moynihan brings out the hooligan in me. And I have to say, I think I Ludicrous brings the hooligan out in Zach. Not a fan. Actually, we've spent
I don't mind it.
We spent most of that song discussing whether it was Hugh Bolaños or Huge Ball Anus.
Oh, boy.
Huge balls and anus. That's the joke. And if it's not, I apologise to Hugh Bolaños if his name is maybe Hugh Bolaños. I think Zach's just got it. Or he just wants to go home.
So DC United, huh?
Yeah. Before we get to DC United,
tweets.
Let's read some tweets from Huge Bolaños. Got a lot here to get through from Angus Walker, at Angus Walker on Twitter. He worries about Williams' positioning. He feels that he constantly let Pasher goal side of him. However, he was quick enough to get back in front of him. Perhaps that's just the way he plays, but a quicker player would have been in on goal.
Who's that?
Sharon Williams.
Yeah, okay.
No comments on that?
No, it's fair, but I mean, the first instant that happened, the touch was so poor that it didn't matter that he got by him.
Yeah, I see where he's coming from, but again, it's just the positioning of players, the way they play, and the way right now that the Whitecaps defense is playing. It's hard to argue with one player playing a different way and allowing a player to break in, but just the positioning of Kendall and Tim and Jordan behind Shane has been excellent, and I think that's something that you could talk about for maybe him letting him go.
Another one from Angus. I know in Europe players get dubious short-term injuries to dodge friendlies, but not for internationals, because he was saying, am I suggesting that Robbo stops a player playing for his country because FIFA would basically fine us? Now, there's ways of stopping them playing, and there's ways of stopping them playing, and the player can also turn it down. Like when we, actually, I don't even know if I played this audio, but I wrote it in the piece anyway for AFTN. Christian Bolaños has said that the coach has told him he'd like him to be involved in the Gold Cup squad, but just now he's waiting to see kind of how it is after the two World Cup qualifiers, and if he feels that he needs some time here and just some time to kind of chill a little bit, then he might turn down the Gold Cup invitation.
That would be huge for us, so that'd give him some energy for the final bit of the season there.
Another one from Angus. Why the Caps seeded third in this competition when we were in the final last year? Shouldn't we have been second and had the second leg last? But Zach will explain.
So the obvious reason for that is your seed is based on your regular season standings in the previous league campaign.
Yep.
So
league only.
For the MLS sides, that means Toronto was the highest, Montreal was second, we were third, and then Ottawa and Montreal were in the same division last year, so Edmonton did better in that, or they were in the same league. They're in the same division again this year, but different leagues. They had a better record in their league, and therefore they got the second leg at home in the quarterfinal play-in kind of thing.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens next year because, I think next year's the year that the League One Ontario and the Quebec League teams are supposed to come in at some level.
Yes, and I'm going to do a piece on this. I've been kind of putting some stuff together. For me, I think it's ridiculous that you're leaving out the PDL teams. And the reason for that is their season isn't long enough. Apparently it has to be at least 16 games, whereas they play 14. And that's just... Like the 6 Canadian clubs in PDL. Clubs like TSS on all-Canadian roster.
Is that the official reason the CSA...
Yep.
Wow.
Well, that's maybe not the official reason. That is something which was told to one of the clubs who told me, and you can probably work out which club that was. Yeah, okay. At Spiceboy 1 says that if Ottawa upset TFC and Montreal were to beat the Caps, it would essentially be a Montreal versus Montreal final. And that is true and is kind of ridiculous.
No. No.
No, it won't happen. No, it's not ridiculous.
One, I don't think. Yes, I don't think it's going to happen. Two, although they're an affiliate club, they're not. It's not their they don't have the input that the Toronto does with TFC2. Or
no, they're more independent than a lot of the things. It's kind of like when we were with Charleston.
Yes,
we didn't have much say at all as to what players played.
So in that situation, if we were in a North American Open Cup, would you believe that should deny Charleston the right to participate?
No.
So it shouldn't. I don't think it should here either.
Because we're in a different continent or country, same continent. Till we break away.
Did you figure out where Thunder Bay is?
It's in Ontario. It's very close to Toronto.
Local
Spelling
derby.
Wise, anyway.
Local derby.
Yeah, it's a local derby. Yeah. Angus Walker again said that he rates the Canadian Championship and the Champions League more than MLS because it's a higher level. We get to play good teams like Tigres, and being the first team to win it would be amazing. Give us the opportunity to play a European team in a proper competitive game. And I mean, it would be that. I think MLS clubs are still a long way from winning it. The gap is closing, but you still think Mexico's going to dominate this tournament for years and years to come.
Yeah, I think the MLS teams that are spending $20+ million should have they should be able to be competitive in the competition. I would disagree that. I guess the better teams we play in the competition, yes, are a higher level, but the lesser sides that we've played, I would not say that they are. I would not say that they are better than the lesser sides in MLS, all around, anyways.
And just the last thing I'm going to read out from Angus here, mainly because my phone is about to die, is that the only excuse for not playing a full-strength side is because they're not taking it seriously. Apart from having to play 3 Canadian players, they have 3 home matches surrounding these matches, so they should all be fit enough. Harvey's one of the few that maybe needs a rest, but we can have a Canadian replacement there in De Jong. So he feels that we need Shea for the last 21 minutes. 7 wasn't long enough.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But I would disagree that you need to rotate your squad. You need to have opportunities. Yeah, I would love to see our strongest player go out and just smash a weekend Montreal side in the first leg, so the second leg is potentially easier. But I don't think they're going to sacrifice Saturday's DC United game, even though DC United is also in very poor form, or has been in very poor form.
Yeah, big loss again for DC United on the weekend. But I would not mind seeing Brek Shea thrown on for the last 45 minutes, either if Kyle Gregg plays good or bad. I think Brek Shea will get more than 21 minutes on Tuesday.
Kyle Gregg has to get 75 to 80 minutes.
Okay, then maybe take off somebody else for him. But, I mean, Brek should, if they want to maybe potentially play him on the weekend.
They basically do need to get his levels up, and the best way of doing that is going to be in the game. Yeah, he could break down again, and I do worry that if he isn't totally fit to go, they're taking a massive risk in some of these games. Because he's a guy that you want down the stretch.
Yeah.
So, but he has got goals, so it's a tough one.
To be fair,
but he's got goals, but they also have to work him back in.
Yeah, and the best way of doing it is to give him more, gradually more and more minutes.
But to be fair,
WFC2 game would possibly be an option.
Well, yeah, but to be fair, the way that the Whitecaps have been playing, that obviously that's why he's not playing minutes, because the team is playing so well together.
Oh yeah.
So talking about that, this is one thing I did think. Was it wise to bring him on for the last 10 minutes against a Kansas City side that is known for their horrific fouling? And had already displayed their horrific fouling.
Yeah,
that's
a valid point.
I think more time against younger players from Montreal or a not full strength Montreal side would have been, wiser to hold him off and have him play more against Montreal. But you're right; he does need to build up minutes.
So that's all the tweets we're going to go through. As I said, mainly because my phone's at 8%. And we'll just wrap the show up with a little bit of quick chat about the game that's coming up on Saturday. We might do a post-game show after the Montreal game or on the Wednesday after it. I'm not sure yet. Just depends on some logistics. So if we do, we'll talk in more depth about DC then. But if we don't, quick chat about it now. We're playing what can be perceived to be a weaker team. Over the years, the Caps have done well against the good teams and then struggled when the weaker teams kind of come here. Saw it against Philadelphia at the start of the year, but then they're not having too bad a season. DC's one of these teams, it's like they can turn it on when they want. They've got the talent. They just seem to be in a little bit of a rut at the moment, but the East is looking strong.
Did you say Philadelphia wasn't having that bad of a season?
They're coming back a little bit.
Yeah, they're having better than I expected,
2 wins is first look isn't good, but they have a good team. I'll give them that. But
they took a point from Fortress BC Place.
Yes, this is also
there was air quotes there.
But yeah, like you mentioned, the mindset of the Whitecaps heading into games against weaker teams provisionally in MLS has been frustrating because they take these games after maybe a tough game on Tuesday against Montreal as, oh, these guys, this is DC, though. This is an easy 4-0 win at home. That's something that frustrates people on many levels, and I know Zach will have something to say about this, but it's a different team completely than Kansas City is DC United, and it'll be interesting to see the way the Whitecaps kind of shut down Lucho Acosta, who has been very good for DC this year compared to last year, where it was not very good.
Yeah, it's interesting that the game's on Tuesday. I don't know. Both the games are on Tuesdays against Montreal. I don't know the reason for that. I don't know if that's our request or what. So it gives you less lead up time, like we talked about, less time for this squad rotated group to gel or to have more training time, intentional training time together. But all the upside is you have more time to get ready for Saturday. And I think no matter what happens, no matter how well Tuesday night goes or how frustrating Tuesday night's result is or whatever, like we need to win on Saturday. Like,
yeah.
I mean, obviously I want us to win on Tuesday. I think that needs to go well. But Saturday to me is like you have to beat DC United. We've had some really not great home BC Place performances against DC. I think we have like 2 goalless draws against them. I think with their last time here it was a goalless draw when we definitely should have beat them. Or am I getting it wrong? We lost 1-0, right? Did we lose 1-0?
No, there was one game Morales scored the opener like 6 minutes in, and then I think it finished 2-2 or something like that, I think. But also, to your point, Zach, when they get time training together, I believe Montreal plays at home on Saturday, so maybe that has to do with the Tuesdays that both teams are playing at home. It's more comfortable for them. But also, it's weird seeing it on a Tuesday because usually you get the extra 2 days of rest in the Wednesday. So the Wednesday Warriors Cup, as it used to be called.
Yeah. All I remember is last year's game against, or 2 years ago. The last time DC United here was not a good game.
I think, yeah.
And we need to beat them here. Like we need to punish them. They're in poor form. We need to take advantage of that. And I think we know that the lineup's going to be different from the rest of the league games. Maddie's serving a suspension, as will hopefully Roger Espin.
See, now you messed it up. There we go. Espindoza, I believe, is the word
Thank
you're
you.
looking for.
Thank you. I appreciate that help, Michael. Espindoza hopefully will also be serving at least a one.
It is 1:05. We've been talking for 2 hours.
Right. Let's blame it on that.
It's that.
Yeah.
But no, we have to win that DC United game, right?
Yeah. That would make it 4-6 wins as well. So,
which is fantastic.
Yeah, despite the start of the season. So,
and considering the injuries, considering we're really not playing, we're not firing on all cylinders yet. You don't want to get carried away, but it does get you a little bit excited as to what could lie in store for this team when everyone's healthy.
Yeah,
when everyone's challenging for places. It could be another 2015. Where they go deep in the playoffs. But you look at the West, and it's so tight just now, and you look at the teams that's out with the playoff spots, and there's some good teams there that you're going to expect to come good later on. And yeah, Zach says you feel you have to win.
Yeah, 2015 deep in the playoffs, I wouldn't go that far as to it was a tough series against Portland.
We didn't win a game, but we went into the semi-final.
No, yeah, exactly. But Yeah, like Zach talked about, it's been tough against DC before, so it's a good test. DC will come with all they've got, and they're a tough team to play. They're a very gritty and aggressive team, so that'll be a good game.
Yeah, man. You talk about 2015. That was
an interesting year for sure.
Depressing end to the.
It
after,
was. We talked about, like, last year was a crap season compared to 2015, but it ended so much happy. You went away with a spring in your step because you beat Portland, you knocked them out the playoffs, you won a Cascadia Cup. And then the year before, you had a fantastic season. Yeah. And then you finished the season like, God, that was disappointing.
Yeah. I just want to hear, I think we mentioned this maybe a week or 2 or 3 ago. If I feel like you are more positive about the potential of the roster than you have been in the past.
Yes.
Like usually it's around April, May, you're like, this team's not good enough. We need better players to be brought in.
Yes.
And I feel like you're like, yeah, okay, Jordy's out of a boot.
I've liked the additions.
Beanie's coming back.
Oh, yeah.
Going to be able to play soon.
Beanie was somebody else that we were going to talk about on this show. But yeah, that we've kind of run out of time, and I didn't get a chance to speak to him. I got a chance to speak to him yesterday, but I didn't feel I'd done enough research to kind of make it one of my really good interviews.
I think he was taking some flack on Twitter because they showed him on the...
Yeah, he was on his phone. It's like you when we're recording the show and then I turn to you and you're on your phone.
I'm looking at the email you sent about the order of the show.
I was just going to quickly mention here, how many East teams have we played at home? I think it's 3 already this year, right?
Philly, Toronto.
So DC would be 3rd this year.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of East teams early on, which is good because East is traditionally good and it has been good this year. So
East is usually terrible, especially here. But this year they've been a lot better.
This year the East is looking...
So
actually, all of MLS is looking good this year.
They're all looking even, just the way the overlords like it.
Yeah, it's like the English Premier League.
Little shaky with Minnesota, but now I'm glad they're playing better. It looks a little nicer. So
yeah,
Marius Rodas got them on track.
Yes. I think they're just terrified of him. It's like been shouting at them. It's like, if you don't start winning, you saw what I did on that plane.
Yeah.
Bad start.
You've heard about the plane, right?
Yeah. So before we go, quick predictions for the DC game. How do you think it's going to go, Gideon?
I'm going to say 3-1 Vancouver.
Ooh. Zachary?
I was going to say 4-0. Let's go 3-0.
Oh, I was going to go 3-0, but I don't want to agree with you again. That's why we brought you on this week, Gideon, because apparently we agree too much. So we needed a voice that disagrees with us. I'm going to go with 3-0. Another clean sheet, 3 goals. Nah, screw it, 4-0.
Nice.
The way they beat us last year, very good.
Yes, 4-0. That's what we're going to go with. So that is it for this episode of the AFTN Soccer Show. Just before we go, we'll just let everyone know where they can find you online. Gideon?
I'll be at Twitter at GideonHill18.
I'm on Twitter. It's at ZacharyAM, and I'm part of the Movement Cover Collective.
I'm Michael McCall. You can find me on Twitter at AFTN Canada. Read all our stuff, aftn.ca, away from the numbers. Also the Whitecaps beat reporter for MLSsoccer.com. And you can hear Gideon and myself doing the TSS Rovers broadcasts. If you haven't seen those yet, check out on YouTube the Lane United game. And fantastic game at the weekend. TSS Rovers' first ever win against Calgary Foothills.
Good game on Friday as well. Next match, should mention Friday, June 2nd against Portland Timbers U23. And then they play actually the Sunday against the Whitecaps Residency in a friendly. So that'll be interesting 3 days for the Rovers, I should say. So yeah, big win on Friday, especially for Willie and Colin, who see their dream come true with this Rovers team. Yeah,
and we were going to bring you some chat from Colin Elms, but you can read it instead because we've run out of time. I don't think folk want me to send them a 2-hour podcast when they wake up tomorrow morning. So that is it for this episode of the show. Thank you for listening. It's been brought to you in conjunction with bcsoccerweb.com. Check them out. And until next time, thanks for listening. Take care. And mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
Yeah, but